Saving a file in Godot is literally one line. Godot gives you a writable folder called user, and we can just write a file instantly. Now, loading is basically the same. One line, read the file, and get the text. And if I print it, you'll see hello. So if you came here to learn about the absolute basics of saving and loading, then you're pretty much done and you can click off the video now. But there's more to save systems than just saving text. And that's because games are more than just text. A lot of the time you save things like player position, inventories, quests, player stats, stuff like that, and even sometimes world states. So in this video, we're going to be building a clean save and load system that will scale with your game. And we're going to do it in a way that makes this feel like a real project, as well as I'm going to keep this completely practical. Every time I introduce code, I'll put it up on the screen first. That way you can pause the video, take a look at it, write it down if you'd like, and then we'll move into Godot, paste it into Godot, and make sure it works. So here's the entire idea. We take the game state, we put it into a dictionary, then we convert it into a JSON. We write it into user, and loading is just reading the JSON and applying it back into the game state. We're going to start with the most obvious thing, player position. If we can save the position and load the position, then you'll understand the core loop. Let me first explain the important parts here. First, we find the player by the group, so we don't hard code a node path, but there's multiple ways of finding the player. That's not the important part here. Second, we create a dictionary called data, and we store the position in there. Now, here's something important. JSON can't actually store a vector 3 directly, or a vector 2 if that's what you're trying to do. So we need to convert it into another dictionary like X, Y, Z. And then we convert it back when we load. And that's basically the whole save loop. Stringify to JSON, write it to disk, read it from the disk, parse JSON, and apply it back. All right, now let's jump into Godot. Step 1, put your player into a group called player. You can do this in the inspector or in the ready. Next, create save manager.gd, and we'll add it as an autoload or a global script. And now we need a quick way to test it. I'm going to be using two input actions, save and load. Now in the player script, I'm just going to call save manager when I press them. Now watch this. I move here, I hit save, I move somewhere else, I hit load, and boom, we snap back. That right there is a pretty much full, complete, real save system. It's small, it's clean, and it proves the pipeline. A quick but important rule here though, do not save to res in an exported game specifically. Res is basically read-only. It's where your game ships. Now we can save here if we want to test things locally or see it locally, but it's important that we save to user. User is the player's data folder. That's where saves belong. And that one choice eliminates like 80% of beginners saving problems. Our next upgrade is to not dump everything in one file randomly forever. We're going to make save folder. That is the difference between a tutorial save system and a real project. The key line here is this one. That ensures that the folder exists. So your save doesn't fail because a directory is missing. But now when you save, it'll go into user/saves/save.json. And inside, you can literally open the JSON and see your values. That's another win because readable saves are easier to debug. Now save slots sound fancy, but they're really not. They're actually really easy. A save slot is literally just its own folder. Slot 1 is a folder and slot 2 is a folder, and each folder will have its own save.json. So once you understand folders, you'll understand slots. This is the whole trick. We generate a directory string, we generate a file path, and now your save function takes a number slot. And now you can do save slot 1 and save slot 2. Same system, just a bit more organized. Slot 1 loads you here and slot 2 loads you there. And we haven't made the code messy. Now here's the real problem. If Save Manager manually knows every system, it becomes a nightmare. Every time you add a new feature, you have to come back and edit Save Manager. So instead, we'll flip it. Save Manager does not know your game. Your game systems are going to tell Save Manager what to save. Anything that wants to be saved joins a group called persist, and it implements two functions, one to write into the save dictionary and one to load from it. This way, Save Manager can now stay generic forever. This is the part that's going to make our entire system scale. Save Manager captures a state by asking every persist node to contribute, and loading applies state by asking every persist node to read their chunk. So when you add inventory later, you don't touch Save Manager. You just add inventory to the persist group and implement two functions. Notice how the player decides what keys it owns. In this case, player position, and Save Manager doesn't care. This is what you want if your end goal is a real game. It stays organized even when your project grows. Now, of course, it does look like the same result, which it is, but the architecture is cleaner. And if you add more systems, they slot naturally. One last tip to save you a bit of pain later, write to a temp file first, then rename it to a real file. Because if the game crashes mid-save, you don't want to destroy your main save file. This is one of those things that's easy to add early and much more annoying to add later, so better to add it now than later, basically. Okay, quick recap. You learned how to save and load in one line. You built a real working save system with the player positions. We then upgraded it into folders. Then we added slots, and you learned these scalable persist patterns. But if you guys want a more guided full version of this as a quest with exercises, expansions, and next steps like saving inventories and other things like that, check out my website, codingquest.io. I make the first few few lessons of all my quests completely free, and the paid part is going to be in the full guided version. Thanks for watching my video. I'll see you all soon.